When I first started modelling, it was like this really exciting activity, and it seemed so new and intriguing to me. This little process of gluing things together and learning about the subject that you were building. But as time has gone by and I've had a little bit more experience, there are some things where I kind of wish I could go back in time and tell myself perhaps I wouldn't make as many mistakes as I did. Hello everyone, I'm Matt, this is Model Minutes, and join me on the workbench today as I talk about the 5 things that I wish I knew before I started modelling. So as the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. There are so many things that I probably would like to go back and tell myself, don't worry about this, or maybe do this instead. But it's all a learning experience, and I guess as we progress with our modelling hobby, we start to reflect on the things that we could have done better. So let's start with number 1, the first thing that I wish I'd known. Paints, for some reason, are not ready from the pot. So this was a bit of a strange one when I got started. I started off on starter sets, and actually it was this exact starter set which I got started on, a Hawker Hurricane. And you can see you've got a couple of paints in there. Granted, this was early 2000s. The paint included is not great. You only get 2, but why would the paint, when you buy it, not be ready to go straight out of the pot? So you have little pots like this, don't you? This is quite sort of standard kind of thing. You have your little pots, and you think that you should be able to just dip your brush in and go straight off the bat. I know in some companies they do say, make sure you shake them and give them a good mix, which would be my first tip. Make sure they're fully mixed before you use them. But what I mean by they're not ready to go is that quite often these kinds of paints need thinning down with an additional product. So you can get, specialist products like this Tamiya X20A, or you can get the Humbrol or Revell or any other brand really, and they're usually designed for the specific paint brand that you're using. And the idea here is that it increases the drying time and allows them to smooth out, but it may require extra layers in order to get a good level of paint, good level of color and opacity. And to someone who has just started modelling, that just seems really counterintuitive. Why, if I buy a little pot of paint, is the paint inside of here not ready to go as soon as I put it on to the plastic? And there are some companies now that have started to address that issue. There are some, I think it's Hataka, for example, have their Blue Line range, which are meant to be ready straight out of the pot. And you also get other specific products, like SMS, Outlaw, Hataka, and so on. There's loads of others which are genuinely airbrush ready. Vallejo comes to mind. You can just pour it in your airbrush and it's ready to go without supposedly any extra work. But for those of us who are just starting out and you're buying your first starter set, it can be a little bit confusing as to why the paints aren't working properly. And that turns out because they're not actually ready to go. So yeah, that would be my first thing I wish I'd known, is perhaps thinning some paint. The paints included in the set may not be ready to go straight away. And that kind of extends a little bit to paints that come separately as well, such as these kind of things. You might need to do a little bit of extra work on them. So let's move on to number 2. And I'm staying with the painting theme that I kind of wish I'd known when I first started modelling. And you have your painting instructions. This is from an Academy P40. I'm currently working on that. And you can see on here, it's black and white, not great. It's not my favourite. You can get other companies do print them in colour. But my point here is that painting instructions are a guide. They're not like the gospel truth. And quite a lot of the time, the companies are doing just enough to give you the impression of what should be in the kit or what should be on the kit, and it's not always going to be 100% accurate. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So this is a Hellcat, and I painted this using the suggested number 25. It comes in like a little pot like this. I actually used the Humbrol version because I had a rattle can for that, but it's the same color. So they suggested number 25, which is this blue, and this blue is wrong. It's not right at all. It should be much darker. It should be more of a navy blue. This is quite a bit more bright blue than a dark sea blue. So yeah, I, in my youth, would have gone, oh, I have to paint it that color because that's what the instructions have told me. And in actual fact, now I do a little bit more research and sometimes just go, no, that's the wrong color. I will find my own one. So yeah, painting instructions are not necessarily gospel truth. And again, sometimes they'll just pick a color that is close to what they have in the range. An internal gray color, you might want an RLM02, but they'll just pick a gray that they have available, and that will do because they want you to use their products, but it might not be 100% accurate. So yeah, just because a company has put a paint color in their instructions doesn't mean it's always going to be the right one. So I tend to do a little bit of research or just do what I want really now. Let's move on to number 3. So this one is, this was a bit of a learning curve, and I think I summarize it in not all brands are created equal. And what I mean by that is that generally you can expect to find the same kind of things. You can expect plastic parts, instructions, decals, that's like the bare minimum you'd expect to see inside of your box. But the quality varies wildly. So my first experience of building model kits was Airfix, sort of their older toolings back when they were still making them back in the noughties. Nowadays Airfix have developed quite a bit, so even in their own range the old vintage classics now are somewhat different to their current ones, but my first experience of Revell was their P47, and in comparison I was like, this is insane. Revell must be amazing because this has recessed panel lines, which I'd never really experienced with an Airfix kit before. Recessed panel lines, fine detail, like moving parts, the canopy opens and closes on that particular kit, lots of weapon options. I was like, this is insane. This is what all Revell kits must be like. Their instructions seemed a bit more in depth. Granted, they were black and white and I didn't really enjoy that element, but I thought, wow, this is what Revell kits must be like. And then I bought another Revell kit and I was very disappointed. Like the P51 Mustang that they have is just such an old tooling and barely even accurate to a P51. Other manufacturers such as Heller, you think, oh, they're going to be quite similar, and you go in and you get an old kit like this, which is a little bit tatty, not fantastic, bit of a mixed bag. And then you get other companies such as Eduard with amazing detail on their plastic parts. It can be quite a varied experience. Tamiya, for example, well known for have model kits that just almost fall together, but not so necessarily great with their transfers, but being a little bit thick and a little bit more difficult to apply. And some of their instructions could be a little bit better as well. But this is the thing, isn't it? You go into it, you've bought one company's kits, you think, I'll try another company, and sometimes it might be a little bit luck of the draw. Is it going to be better or is it going to be worse? Or is there even consistency amongst the range? So I would say, typically I tend to do a bit of research before I buy a kit, or sometimes I just go in blind, it doesn't really matter. But having kind of an idea of what you might get is quite beneficial when you're shopping around. So yeah, not all companies are made equally and they all work slightly differently, which for younger me threw me off the first time I bought other brands, and it was a bit daunting. And I think on that as well, company wise, if you have a product and someone buys it as their first experience from you and it's a bad experience, are they likely to buy from you again? Because imagine if I'd bought a really bad kit from Revell and gone, that's my first impression of Revell, I'll never buy another one. But fortunately for them, I bought actually something quite good, and I then went on to buy more Revell kits. So let's move on. Number 4. Cheap tools aren't always good tools. And this comes back to that old saying, doesn't it? Buy cheap, buy twice. And I have found that I've used like cheap paintbrushes, for example, and they just don't work at all. They're pretty horrendous. Like the paintbrush that was included in this set it's like an arts and crafts paintbrush more than an actual paintbrush. I used to use these to like paint my kits, and it's amazing. Like if you go and get proper paintbrushes like I've got up here, it's amazing what the difference is in just such a small thing. But you think to yourself, oh well, I'll buy the cheap paintbrushes because they're like 50p a go, whereas the more expensive ones are £2.50 a go. But then you'll notice the difference when you use them. So cheap products aren't always good products. You'll end up potentially buying more of them, or buying a replacement at some point. So my suggestion to myself would be to buy the best quality thing that I could afford at the time. I used to have lots of little cheap tools and stuff, like snippers and things, but they don't cut the sprue cleanly, and you find yourself spending more time working on it. You get yourself a decent pair of cutters, for example, and you have minimal work to do, and actually it speeds up. It sort of like pays for itself. So yeah, definitely that would be something I would go back and tell myself. Make sure you get some better quality tools, because it will certainly help, and you'll probably end up spending less in the long term. And finally, number 5. This one is a sentiment that I have sort of passed on a few times here on the channel, and it's you don't have to do your best every single build. And what I mean by that is, like, it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to sometimes just build a kit how you want to build and just have fun with it. Just mess around with it. If you don't want to paint the cockpit, don't paint the cockpit. If you don't want to put the decals on, don't do that. Completely build how you want to build. It's almost like mojo builds. Get yourself back into the modeling, get yourself down onto the workbench. Like, for example, I've got 2 kits here. We've already seen the Hellcat. This one was a really simple build. I did make mistakes in it, which we'll see in the review video. But it was okay, and it was not fun to build, but it was okay. But this one, I put a lot more effort into it, and actually this one I enjoyed more because it was a better quality kit. However, you could spend more time working on a higher quality kit and absolutely hate it because you're not necessarily in the right headspace. And it's okay. It's okay to not have to try really hard. I used to try quite hard with my builds when I was younger, and there were times when you would get to a certain point and I didn't know how to overcome a problem, and that would kind of ruin the build for me. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just build for yourself and have fun whilst you're going along with your modeling journey. And that's probably what I would say to myself. Those are the 5 things that I wish I'd kind of known before. I probably will look at making another video about 5 more things, which I wish I'd known, because I think there's probably still quite a few things out there which, if I could go back in time and tell myself, I definitely would. But what would you say to your past self if you had the opportunity? Let me know down in the comments. If you're enjoying this content, why not become a member of the Model Minutes Model Club? These guys on screen here get access to some extra perks, such as early access to videos and also a monthly live stream. To find out how to join them, check out the links in the description below. There are, of course, other ways to help support the channel if you'd like to do so, and again, full information is below the video. The best way to support the channel for free, though, is by subscribing with notifications turned on, which means you'll never miss a modelling video. Finally, though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.